Welcome to That's the Story Classroom Show. Let's make learning fun.
On today's show, we've got some prizes to give away. Keep on listening. You might be into winning one of them. We've got a story about a shapeshifter, a treasure hunt, black pants, a ramp, some animals, and a sock. Goodness gracious me. Let's kick it off with a shapeshifter.
As far back as Quinn could remember, he could do something that most people couldn't. He could turn himself into other creatures. This was quite a useful skill to have sometimes. When he wanted to taste some of his dad's legendary freshly made apple and feijoa pie, for example, he simply turned himself into a fly and landed on the edge of the pie, sucking up the sweet and warm sticky juice with his newly formed proboscis. Usually Dad didn't notice, and if he did, he was always too slow to swat Quinn the fly. When he wanted to get home from school quickly, he turned himself into a dog and ran all the way. 4 legs are better than 2, you see, so he would arrive home only half as puffed as if he'd run as himself. Once he turned himself into a praying mantis and hung out on the wall of the teacher's staff room for an entire lunchtime. He heard a lot of things that day. He heard that Alice Westing was disruptive in class. He heard that Wide Eddie Farmer was going to move back to the coast. And he heard that Miss Jameson was dating Mr. Hawke. He kept a close eye on those two for the next few weeks. One night, Quinn couldn't sleep. All sorts of things were racing around in his head. Things about home, things about his friends, and lots of things about school. He could hear all sorts of noises coming from outside, banging, wailing, meowing, so he decided to turn himself into a cat and go and investigate. He did what he usually did. Held his breath, shut his eyes, and imagined He imagined a handsome brown and sandy striped cat with big green eyes and ears which could hear everything. After 30 seconds, just when his breath was beginning to run out, he opened his eyes and looked over to the mirror. Brilliant, he thought. Exactly the cat I had imagined. Quietly and gracefully, he sprang up onto the ledge below the open window, then dropped down onto the damp grass in the garden outside. He sidled round the corner of the garage to see where the noise was coming from. As he peeked round the edge of the green wheelie bin, he saw 3 cats. A big brown one, a skinny grey striped one, and a fat one with a strange sort of bluish coat. They were arguing. "It's my mouse," said the brown cat. "No, it's my mouse. I saw it yesterday," screeched the skinny grey cat. No, you didn't, because it wasn't even here yesterday," purred the bluish cat. As Quinn looked closer, he could see that the brown cat had one of its huge paws on top of a mouse, which was alive but looking extremely frightened. The mouse had a scratch mark behind one of its ears and was bleeding. Because Quinn was used to turning into creatures of all shapes and sizes, and he knew what it felt like to be those creatures, he hated cruelty to animals, birds, insects, amphibians, fish, lizards, and arachnids of any type. He wanted to rescue the mouse. He had an idea. "Hi," said Quinn, strolling casually into the brouhaha. "I see you've found my mouse. Thanks. Tilly, I won't tell you again. Don't run away from me." Quinn pretended to address the mouse. "But," said the brown cat. "But," said the skinny grey cat. "But," said the bluish cat. But, before they had a chance to know what was happening, Quinn had bowled in, knocked the brown cat's paw off the mouse, picked up the still stunned mouse by the scruff of the neck, and trotted off back towards his bedroom. His heart was thumping in his ears, but he thought he had pulled it off. Just to be sure, he turned himself into his favourite type of dog and closed his jaws very gently over the mouse. The cats, by this time, had got a hold of themselves and were running after the strange cat. But all they saw when they came round to the side of the house was a very mean-looking yellow Labrador. The Labrador growled, and the cats ran off at great speed. "Phew," sighed Quinn. "That was close." The mouse started to struggle, and the taste of mouse on Quinn's tongue wasn't nice. He hadn't eaten meat since he was 6, and even when he had once turned himself into a vampire bat, he made sure it was a vegetarian vampire bat. He spat out the mouse. "Are you okay?" asked Quinn.
"How dare you almost eat me and then
ask me if I'm okay, shouted the mouse. Although it was small, its shout was surprisingly loud.
Of course I'm not okay. I only became a mouse so that I could look at my Christmas presents in Mum and Dad's wardrobe. I didn't know that Titus would chase me to the point of exhaustion and then be dumb enough to nearly give me away to one of his friends.
And then in a smaller voice,
I want to go home.
the mouse went very quiet and shut its eyes. It looked like it was either going to sleep or trying not to cry. Even though it didn't look like the mouse was listening, Quinn chipped in. I'm sorry, I was just trying to get you away from them, you see. I'm a vegetarian dog. Cat. Well, Quinn shut his eyes again and held his breath. When he opened his eyes, he was back to the human Quinn, squatting in his PJs on the grass outside his bedroom window. And he was face to face with, not a mouse, but Lucy Apnovich, the girl from 2 doors down the road. Her ear was bleeding. They looked at each other, startled, and began to laugh. They never spoke about it again, but sometimes you'd see 2 dogs running away from the school together, or 2 birds sitting on a telephone wire watching groups of people at the bus stop. And I'm sure once I saw 2 elephants on the horizon, heading for the bush.
Ooh, I do like that story. What would you turn into? If you could turn into any animal in the world, which animal would you like to turn into? If you would like me to do a shout out to you and all your classmates, all you have to do is head for our website, that'sthestory.co.nz. Click on contact us and send me a message from there. I'll be doing a shout out to you and your mates in a show very, very soon. Now, Cameron is about to go on a treasure hunt.
Cameron was staying at her auntie's house, and as usual, her auntie and uncle had devised a cunning treasure hunt for her. Cameron was happy, very happy indeed. She carefully read clue number 1. Let me think. Could I be in the kitchen sink? The clue said. Cameron raced into the kitchen and hunted around the sink area. There, twisted around the cold tap, was clue number 2. Now here's a clue, what to do? Could I be hiding in the loo? Cameron giggled and made her way to the bathroom. The next clue was sitting on top of the toilet roll holder. There's lots of art hanging in the hall, but what you're looking for is a tool. Out in the garden shed. Cameron was puzzled. She read the clue out loud again, then she understood and skipped her way outside to the garden shed. Inside the shed, Cameron hunted high and low for the clue. There it was, hidden underneath her uncle's hammer. Clue number 4. All the birds like to take a rest. Look for me in a tiny bird's nest. To anyone else, this clue might have sounded a bit weird, but Cameron's auntie had a collection of birds' nests that she'd found out in the carport. Cameron raced around to the other side of the house and began hunting through all the different sized nests. She found clue number 5 snuggled within a tiny soft nest made of fluff. She sells seashells on the seashore. I'm not in a shell, but behind a door. In the kitchen. Cameron giggled again and made her way back inside the house into the kitchen. She opened all the cupboard doors and looked inside. Nothing. She opened the door to the laundry cupboard. There was clue number 6 stuck to the back of the door by a piece of blue tack. Phew, thought Cameron. That was taking a long time. Tick-tock, tick-tock, look for me behind a clock. Cameron's auntie and uncle didn't have many clocks in their house. They only had one that Cameron could think of. It was in the lounge and hadn't gone tick or tock for many, many years. But that had to be where clue number 7 was hiding. The dog likes somewhere to lay its head. You'll find me inside the dog's bed. Where was the dog's bed? It tended to get moved around a lot, depending on where Cameron's auntie and uncle wanted the dog to lay down. Cameron looked around the living room. The dog's smelly old bed was over by the sofa. Cameron gingerly rummaged through the tatty covers. Clue number 8 was hiding behind the sheepskin. Cameron likes a good sleep too. Look under your pillow for your next clue. Cameron had been staying with her auntie and uncle and had her own bed made up in the spare room. Cameron raced off again down to the end of the hallway and to the room where she was staying. Clue number 9 was there, under the pillow. Out in the garden, look for the fishes. Find your next clue and I'll give you 3 wishes. Not really. Cameron giggled again. Her auntie's poetry was getting worse, but it still made the treasure hunt fun. Cameron headed back out to the garden and started looking around the edges of the large circular fish pond. There were 7 fish in the pond, but no clues. Oh, there it was, hidden behind a plant. The elusive clue number 10. The treasure hunt is nearly over. Time to find your final clue. Come and find me. I'll be hiding in amongst a stinky shoe. Cameron ran into the house once again. She knew where her auntie and uncle kept their shoes. They were in a big messy pile at the end of their bed. Cameron knelt down on the floor and started looking inside each of the shoes. It was a horrible job, but someone had to do it. Cameron picked up her uncle's sneakers. The treasure wasn't in there. She picked up her auntie's high heels. Not in there either. And then she picked up one of her auntie's favourite and very old fluffy sheepskin slippers. Nestled right down the end of the slipper, Cameron felt something hard and round. She rummaged around a bit more and found 2 more hard, round objects. Cameron clenched them into her fist and pulled them out. 2 $2 coins and 1 $1. $5! Yee-haw! Cameron had found her treasure. She rushed to find her auntie to show her. "Righto," said Auntie. "Let's walk to the shop and see what other treasure you can exchange that for, shall we?" And that's exactly what they did. "Auntie," said Cameron as they walked with the dog down the road, "can we do another treasure hunt when we get home?" Cameron wasn't sure, but she thought that she heard her auntie groan and mumble to herself, "Not another treasure hunt, surely."
Where am I? Simple concept. I give you some clues. You got to try and guess where it is in the world I'm talking about. Take some notes. Get your pen and paper handy. Take some notes. You're allowed to use Google if you like. All correct entries are into winning one of 2 incredibly cool books. Wise Old Whiskey and Fledgling's First Flight. Next term, we'll have some art supplies to give away, so keep on listening. Try and figure out where it is in the world we're talking about. Here come those clues.
Where on earth could I be? It's tricky, I think you'll agree. I'll give you a clue, perhaps even 2. Oh, where on earth could I be?
314 million people live in our country. Our country serves over 100 acres of pizza every day. Every second, we collectively eat 100 pounds of chocolate, and because of that, 1 in 3 of us are obese. We bought Alaska in 1867 from the Russians. Until 1836, Christmas was illegal in our country. Our country has no official language. The banana is our most popular fruit. We have a town in our country called the Big Ugly. We banned sliced bread in 1943. Our country's government owns the world's GPS tracking system and can turn it off whenever we want.
Oh, where on earth could I be?
Oh, I reckon that one was an easy one. You know where it was? I do. Remember, all correct entries are into winning one of 2 really cool books. Fledgling's First Flight and Wise Old Whiskey by Dr. Janice Belgrove, illustrated by Alan Gordon. Really cool books. And next term, we'll have some art supplies to give away. Now let's have a story about a pair of black pants.
Jeremy picked up his new black pants from the clean folded pile of washing sitting on the end of his bed. They were fab, and Jeremy couldn't wait to wear them to school for Mufti Day. Jeremy carefully unfolded the black pants and held them up against his reflection in the mirror. Something wasn't quite right. In fact, something was quite wrong. The black pants weren't the same as the black pants he'd been bought just last week. The black pants had somehow turned themselves into not only black pants, but great big black pants. The great big black pants were huge. The waist of them could take at least 3 of Jeremy, and if he held them as high as he could, the bottom still wouldn't touch the ground. The great big black pants were obviously made for a giant. Jeremy was bemused. He'd heard of washing accidents, but this was ridiculous. Jeremy tried the great big black pants on. They were great and big indeed, and Jeremy got lost inside them. He took them off and dragged them behind himself into his parents' bedroom. There sat Jeremy's dad on the very corner of his bed. He was trying to get his black pants on too. He had one foot in one of the legs and was pulling and pulling and pulling. He had pulled so hard that his face had gone bright red. But the pants that Jeremy's dad was trying to force on were obviously way too small. The legs were only as long as his arms and twice as skinny. Jeremy stood in the doorway laughing. He held up his great big black pants. As he did so, his dad lay back on the bed and happily withdrew his foot from the substantially smaller black pants. Jeremy and his dad looked at each other. Without saying a word, Jeremy handed over the great big black pants, and Jeremy's dad handed back the substantially smaller but perfectly sized for Jeremy black pants. pants, Jeremy returned to his room. It was obvious, really. Great big black pants were made for great big people, just like his dad. And little bitty black pants were made just the very perfect size for Jeremy himself.
G'day, I'm Ronnie. This is That's the Story, and I reckon it's time we had a rather exciting story about a ramp.
We needed a ramp, not just some barely sloping, tiny, oh, is that it kind of ramp. We needed a gutsy, curvy, looping, seriously cool kind of ramp. To do the kind of daredevil superheroes type stunts we were planning, we needed something that would give us a good run-up to the Ring of Terror. This was the plan. Me, Benji, Leo and Zach would take our bikes to the top of the ramp while Leo's younger sister Poppy made sure none of our parents were coming. We would be seriously in for it if they caught us. Poppy was also in charge of emergency services. That meant she had to have the garden hose on and ready. In case the dogs from the neighbourhood came sniffing around, she also had a box of plasters and a bottle of cough medicine just in case. What we were going to do was use the treehouse at the back of Benji's place. We'd build the ramp off the tree hut and put the Ring of Terror at the bottom of the ramp, go round upside down in the ring, and then, ta-da, finish! Simple, easy, nothing to it. It was really important we get up enough speed before hitting the Ring of Terror. If we didn't, we'd be stuffed. That's why we chose the tree hut. It was the highest place we could get to. So after we collected wood from under Leo's house and Zach's backyard, nails from my garage, we started putting it all together. Took ages though. We didn't have a hammer. So we used all sorts of things to bang the nails in. Rocks, a broom handle, bricks, smaller pieces of wood and Benji's head. Nah, just kidding about Benji's head. Finally, the banging and building was finished. The four of us each had a bike. Benji and Zach would go up first, Leo and I would pass the bikes up to them and then climb up. That meant 4 people and 4 bikes in the treehouse at once. It was gonna be fantastic! Benji and Zach went up. Sweet, everything was going to plan. I passed a bike up to Leo, who was halfway up the ladder on the tree, and he hoisted it up to Benji and Zach. Oh, it was quite hot work. It's not as easy as it sounds, you know. Leo kept falling off the ladder because he couldn't hold on to the bike and the ladder or the tree at the same time. So we had to make some kind of safety rope for him. Really, we just tied him to the tree so he wouldn't fall off. Benji and Zach were hopeless. We didn't need 2 people up in the hut, so Zach came down and helped me. I should explain that the tree hut wasn't very high-tech. It was pretty much just a couple of pallets nailed onto a couple of branches a ways up the tree. By the time we got the 3rd bike up, it was looking kind of cramped up there. We should have noticed the hut starting to lean and the branches starting to bend then. We finally got the last bike up, untied Leo from the tree and started to climb. The 4 bikes took up heaps of room. Leo and Benji looked really nervous. I thought it was because of the Ring of Terror, but as soon as I got to the top of the ladder with Zach close behind, I understood. There was a strange kind of creaking. I quickly got up onto the hut. Zach was starting to panic and was yelling at us to hurry up and help him up. The creaking was now a groaning. We were all on a definite lean. I hadn't realised the treehouse was quite so high up. The groaning was now a cracking and a howling, screeching, or was that Poppy warning us that our parents were coming? A snapping, my heart was banging in my chest and I could hear the blood pumping hard in my ears. The 4 of us hollered as the pallets, Mike, Zach, Benji, Leo and me fell from the tree and crashed to the ground. A heap of boys, bikes and a tree hut. I think we'll go with Plan B.
Poor blimey, what a ramp. That sounds pretty epic. If you would like to draw a picture of what you would consider to be the best ramp in the entire known universe, then by all means draw that picture. Have your teacher take a photo of it and email it to me. You can go to our website, that'sthestory.co.nz, click on contact us and send me that picture from there, and I'll put that picture up on a show very, very soon.
I like cats, I like dogs, I like animals, I like bats, I like frogs, I like oxalotls, I like elephants and guinea pigs, any color take your pick. I like animals. I like spotty ones and furry ones, tall and short and scary ones, animals. the bark. I like animals that bark. Rabbits, rodents, kangaroos, parrots, porpoise, pandas too. I like animals. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-da. 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 I like lizards, llamas, iguanas, big gorillas in pajamas, pink chameleons and Pomeranians. I like the odd baboon, I like the odd raccoon. I like animals. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-da. 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 I like sheep, cows, hedgehogs, birds, sows, warthogs. I like animals. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-da. 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 One more time. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-da. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-da. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-da.
Now, Aunt Nora's farm. It's an interesting place. We've had some really weird stories come out of Aunt Nora's farm, but this one takes the sock.
It was a bright, warm afternoon. A good day for getting the washing done, as Aunt Nora would say. And that's just what she was doing. The big basket with the wet clothes was next to the clothesline, and Aunt Nora was singing a rather strange combination of Happy Birthday and Silent Night at the top of her voice as she hung the washing out. Well, she was singing, until a voice from the basket went,
Has anyone ever told you you can sing?
Aunt Nora stopped singing, blinked a couple of times and looked around. No one to be seen. Uncertainly, she said, Pardon?
I said, has anyone ever told you you can sing?
Repeated the voice slowly. Why, no, said Aunt Nora.
Not surprising, 'cause you can't. You're flatter than a pair of trousers after a good ironing.
Cackled the voice. Aunt Nora's eyes narrowed and her lips clenched tightly. Two sure signs she was not happy. Who said that? She asked.
A music lover.
Came the reply, which she could now work out, seemed to be coming from the washing basket. Aunt Nora reached quickly in and started rummaging about.
Oh, hey, stop it!
Shrieked the voice.
Let go of me!
Aha! Said Aunt Nora triumphantly, pulling a wriggling, twisting, turning red sock out of the basket.
Don't hurt me. Stop, you big brute of a lady!
Wailed the sock. More than a bit surprised, Aunt Nora dropped the sock onto the ground, whereupon it growled,
Oh, very nice. You just washed me. Now you drop me on the ground. I'm dirtier than ever.
All right, she said, quickly picking the sock up. Don't be so shirty.
Are you blind? I'm a sock, not a shirt.
The sock snapped. I meant... Never mind, sighed Aunt Nora. Sock, what are you doing, talking? What sort of sock are you? What's your name?
How many socks do you know of with names?
Asked the sock. None, replied Aunt Nora.
Yep, and I'm no different. If you have to call me anything, call me Sock,
said Sock. Well, all right, Sock, but what sort of sock are you? I've never heard a sock talk or complain or grumble before.
Isn't it obvious what sort of sock I am?
Said Sock in a superior voice. At this point, no, confessed Aunt Nora.
Plainly, I am a right foot sock,
said Sock. A right foot sock, said Aunt Nora. Ah, yeah. And how are you different from, say, a left foot sock?
I go on the right foot,
said Sock slowly. All right. But my other question, why are you talking? Asked Aunt Nora.
If you spent your day wrapped around a smelly foot, or thrown into washing piles with dirty underpants, and then got pegged up on a washing line with jerseys, you'd talk too. It breaks the monotony, said
Sock sadly. Monotony? I've never thought of Sock's life as monotonous, said Aunt Nora.
Yep. The only difference between one day and the next is what shoe you're going to be stuffed into. Jackets won't talk to you. Shirts think they're so much better than you. Underpants are disgusting. And handkerchiefs are stupid. So that doesn't leave much fun in a day,
said Sock. Well, there must be someone you talk to, asked Aunt Nora.
There is, but I think she's gone,
sniffed Sock. Who is it? Asked Aunt Nora.
Left Sock. The most, it's like we were made for each other. But she's gone,
wailed the sock.
She's always in the washing basket with me, always, but today she's not.
Aunt Nora thought for a moment. You say left sock's always in the washing with you, that she's the same colour, size and pattern as you, but Sock, today's the first time I've ever seen you in my washing, and believe me, I'd remember. Have you ever seen me before, Sock?
No, I don't think I'd forget singing like that, no,
replied Sock. I don't think Left Sock has run away or gotten lost. I think you're in the wrong pile of washing, said Aunt Nora.
Ooh, I think you're right,
said Sock.
But that still doesn't help me. Where should I be? Whose washing should I be in? If I don't work it out, I'll never see Left Sock again.
Said Aunt Nora. You're loud, rude, feisty and grumpy. Who do I know around here that's like that? And so it was a few minutes later, Aunt Nora gave Gordon the gnome back the right sock that was missing from his washing. Gordon went, which was a Gordon sort of thank you very much, but Aunt Nora was sure Sock was smiling as Gordon took him away. Sure enough, the next time she was hanging out his washing, she glanced over at Gordon's line, and there, right in the middle and pegged right next to each other, were two socks, exactly the same colour, pattern and size. And when she saw that, Aunt Nora smiled to herself.
G'day, I'm Ronnie. This is That's the Story, and that, my friends, is my lot for another week. Don't forget to send in your answers to the Where Am I competition. All entries are into winning one of those two books, Fledgling's First Flight or Wise Old Whiskey. And next term, we'll have some really cool art supplies to give away, so keep on listening. I'll catch you again next week. Until then, have a great weekend. Ka kite anō.
I wanna hear the one about the big old plum tree. I wanna hear the one